Layers are the very foundation of Photoshop. You can work without them, but it's gonna be extremely hard, so what's the point? In this video, I'm gonna show you everything you need to know to start working with layers in Photoshop, and believe me, there is a lot of stuff to learn about layers. So I can't put everything in just one video. We're gonna cover everything you need to know to start, and then you're gonna get to the most advanced stuff in the next videos, okay? So sit tight and let's go. So you can see that we have here the Photoshop with no file, because there are a few ways that we can work with layers. First, I have my folder here and I have a few images. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this image in Photoshop just by simply clicking and dragging it to Photoshop. And then you're gonna see that when I had my folder open here, it had the name Photo1492 and. So when I open that in Photoshop this way, it's gonna show as a background layer, okay? It renames it. The first layer you open in the document, it's always gonna be the background layer. Doesn't matter the name it had before. So if I get the exactly same photo and I drag it again to Photoshop, and open it there, you're gonna see that now it starts with this cross in blue, and you can click this button here and it's gonna cancel the transform, or as you can see, you can press ask and it's gonna cancel it and it's gonna remove the picture, and so the layer is deleted now. Or I can click and drag it and I can commit it or just press enter, okay? So if I do it now, I have my layer back here with the original name. This is the panel, this is the layers panel. This is the most used panel you ever be using in Photoshop, and that's the one everyone uses the most. One thing you need to know, pretty much everything in Photoshop is gonna be a new layer. An image is gonna be a new layer. We can create new empty layers, new transparent layers, new colorful layers. We can have gradient layers, we can have layer masks, we can have text, and text is also a layer. So we're gonna cover all of that in this video. So as you can see, it comes here with the name of the picture, and let's say I don't like it, I can just double click on the name and then I can rename it. So new name for my layer. That's it. Okay, now it's renamed. And let's say I want to add a text here. I'm not going to get into details about it. I'm just going to type something. Let's say it's a Nike advertisement. So we're just going to say, just do it, man. Just do it. And I'm going to drag it here. And as you can see in my layer panel, we already have my layer here. Okay, that's the text layer. If you want to edit a text, there are a few ways you can do it. As I said, I'm not going to get into details about text right now, but in the layer panel, you can double click on the icon here, and if you double click it, you can change the text. And I'm going to commit it again. And if I double click on the name of the layer, I can just add a new name. And now the name of my layer has nothing to do with the content of the layer, okay? So that's the very important stuff. If you're trying to edit the text, you can double click here, you can use the text tool, which you're gonna see in another video how to work with text in Photoshop, okay? So you probably notice that the first image doesn't have the little square that the second image has, right? It's because the new image that I placed here is a smart object. That means I can't straight away edit this image. If I want to make any kind of addition, I have to rasterize this layer, which is going to make it editable, or I can open it in a new tab. And if you want to open it in a new tab, all you gotta do is double click on the icon here. And as you can see up here, now I have two tabs. The first one, which is the document I created before, and now I have the second one. And the second one is just a background layer again. So anything I do on that image, let's say I'm gonna paint something here. Let's say I wanna get a little bit of blue. And I just want to paint a little bit of blue over there, like it was the sky, okay? And if I save this, Control S, I saved it. I'll just press OK here, and then I'm gonna go to my previous document and you can see it's edited, okay? If I click on the little icon, the little eye icon here, I can activate or deactivate the visualization of this layer. I'll go back to my previous document and I'll go Control Z and I'll undo the change, Control S again to save it, and then I'm gonna close it. And as you can see, it went back to normal. So you remember in the previous video when I said you're gonna be working a lot with different tabs at the same time and different documents at the same time? That's what I meant. It doesn't mean that you're gonna have to work with two completely different projects. Sometimes the same project is going to require you to open different tabs to edit the layers you're using, okay? A few other things and a little bit of details. Let's say I'm gonna create a new layer, and how do I do it? Just a simple layer. I can come down here and press this button, create new layer, and when I press it, it's gonna create a new layer, and it's gonna be always named layer and the number of layers that has no name. So if I create a second layer here, layer 2, I have a new layer. Let's say I'm gonna create now a rectangle or an ellipse or a circle or whatever. Let's create a circle. So I have a circle here and I have a new layer that is an ellipse one. If I create a new layer again, now I have another layer too, because I created a new layer with no name. So it's always gonna be named this way, okay? If you hold Alt and click on the little icon button, it's gonna open the new layer window, which means you can name your layer here. So let's call that colored layer. And I can come over here and create and choose a color for this layer. Let's say I want it to be yellow. Okay? I can choose a blend mode for this layer. We're not going to talk about blend modes right now. I can choose the opacity for this layer, which I'm not going to do it right now because it doesn't make sense right now. And I'll just press OK. And now you can see that my new colored layer, I'm going to remove the visualization of all the layers. You can see my colored layer has absolutely nothing on it. It's transparent. And when you have a transparent layer, the background is going to be these little squares, white and gray squares, to show you that there is nothing there and it is transparent, okay? So if I activate the ellipse layer here, you're going to see I can see what's going on the ellipse layer, but the background is transparent. So if I save this image as a PNG, if I export this image as a PNG, it's going to have this size and the background is not going to be there. It's just going to be transparent. Okay, that's very important stuff. And I showed you how to color the layer. So the colored layer here is yellow. Let's say I want to get my ellipse one to be a new color. How do I do it? You can click with the right button on the layer and you have the option color here. And then you can choose any color you want for any type of layer you have. It doesn't matter if it's a shape layer, if it's an image, if it's whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, you can color it. And it's very interesting when you can color these things because it's gonna make your document a lot more organized. So keep that in mind. If you need to organize things, you can color the layers. Another way to colorize to organize the document is by grouping layers. So let's create something here very basic. So I want this new layer. Let's just do it again. Oops. Just deleted the layer, so I'm gonna type it again. Just do it, man. Just do it. So I'm gonna have it here. And let's say I want to put another text down here on the bottom part of the image. I can go here and say like Nike always says. I'm gonna paint it white. When I'm not gonna talk about colors or ways to paint it right now, we're gonna have another video about it. I'm gonna change the font here to pretty much anything. and I'm gonna resize it. It's down here. And let's say that I also want to create another layer, but we're gonna have to learn how to duplicate layers as well. So there are a few ways of doing it. The like Nike always says, I want to add some other text under it, just right beneath it. Let's get it a little bit higher. So to move layers is pretty simple. Just select the layer, the layer is selected, you click and drag. Okay? In your Photoshop, that option might be marked auto select, which means whatever you click and drag, it's gonna select the layer here and it's gonna drag it. Now, when you don't need to click on the layer and move it. I don't like this option. I think it gets a little bit messy. That's why I keep my auto select here in the option bar, always unchecked, okay? But there is a secret for that. If I want to click here and move this text, like I have the like Nike always says selected. If I click anywhere in this document and drag it, I'm gonna drag this layer. It doesn't matter where it is. But let's say I want to click on the just do it and drag it, and I don't want to come to the layer panels. I can just hold control. Look here at the option bar, you can see the alt select. When I hold control, it checks the alt select, and when I release control, it unchecks it. So I can click and drag it, and then I release the control, and now it's the alt select is unchecked again, and I can do it for every single layer. Okay? So let's duplicate these layers. There are a few ways of doing it. You can take the layer here, click and drag down to the new layer, and it's going to create a new one. You can see here we have now the like Nike always says copy. And now if you click and drag down, you have a new layer. Let's delete the layer. How do you do it? You just press delete on your keyboard, or you can click and drag to the bin, and it's going to delete it. Let's duplicate it again in another way. The other way is with the layer selected, you can hold Alt on your keyboard, click and drag, and it's gonna duplicate the layer. And that's a much faster way of doing it. Okay? If I want to delete it again, I'm just gonna hit delete on my keyboard. And there is another way to duplicate a layer, which is the most common one, which is holding Control and pressing J on your keyboard. And as you can see, I have again, like Nike always says, copy. It's a new layer. And I can keep pressing it and have multiple copies of it. So that's a very fast way of doing it. How you gonna do it? It's up to you. Just be as lazy as you can, okay? So I'm gonna click and drag here, down there. And if I hold Shift, you can see like I'm not holding anything. I'm just clicking and dragging it around. I can move it anywhere. But if I hold Shift, click and drag, it only gonna move in 45 degrees. Okay, so 45 degrees, 45 degrees, 45 degrees, 45 degrees in each direction. Or I can move in 90 degrees. So if you click, just my hands are up here. I'm just clicking and dragging. If I'm dragging it down and I hold Shift, it's now gonna move in 90 degrees. So I can move it up or down. It's gonna lock it. And I'm gonna release Shift again, and I can freely move it. And if I move it to the side, I can hold Shift again, and it only gonna move to the side. So it's pretty simple, right? So if I'm moving it in a diagonal way, I can hold Shift, and it's only gonna move in 45 degrees. If I want to move it horizontally, I start clicking and dragging, and then I hold Shift, and it's gonna move up and down, or left and right, and then I hold Shift, and it's gonna move always on the line, always on the same line, okay? So I'm gonna move it down here. I'm gonna hold Shift again, and I'm gonna transform this layer. I want to make it bigger or smaller. How do I do it? That works with every layer, not just text. I'll hold Control and press T on my keyboard. T. Control T is gonna make it. Is gonna make you. It's gonna allow Photoshop to let you transform things. So with Control T, I can scale, and then I can rotate. I can skew it. I can do pretty much anything that transforms that layer. Okay. So I'm gonna drag it down here. Control T again. And if I click and drag, it's gonna keep the proportion. If I hold shift, it's gonna squeeze the layer, so you can do it any ways you want. If I release shift and I hold alt, it's gonna scale it from the center of the layer, okay? From the center of the layer. And if I hold control, I can scale it and then I can change it in any way I want. And you can combine these hotkeys, control, shift, and alt. So I can, for example, hold shift so I can do it. Like I can do whatever I want with this layer, and I hold out, and I can do whatever I want with this layer from the center of the layer. Okay? So that's something that is important. Usually, you don't want to squeeze the layer or make it weird in any way. When it's a text, it's fine. But let's say I want to do it with that image. So I'm going to select the image layer and I'm going to go Control T. If I just click and drag, it's gonna keep the proportion. But if I hold shift and I click and drag, that's what's gonna happen. And that looks ridiculous. You should never do that unless you absolutely know what you're doing, okay? So if that guy wasn't in that image, I could simply do it and no one would ever know that I just did this atrocious thing to my layer, okay? And just as an example, okay, I have the layer here and I want to edit this layer without the double click and open it in a new tab because that's going to take a while. What can I do? You can come here with the in that layer, right click on it, and there is an option called rasterize layer. That's going to make that layer editable, so you can do pretty much anything you want to it. So let's say I want to remove this guy. I'm not gonna get into details about how I'm removing him. I'm just gonna do it. So now he's gone. And now I'm gonna go Control T and then I'm gonna do the thing I told you not to do. Okay? So now it doesn't look that bad, does it? So as I said, if you know what you're doing, there is absolutely no problem. But 99% of the time, you don't want to do it. Okay? So let's say I want to make a selection. I'm gonna go into selection in the next videos as well. I'm gonna cover everything. But let's say I'm gonna get my rectangle marquee tool. I'm gonna go to this layer, the new name for my layer. I'm gonna select just the upper portion, the white portion, and I'm gonna press Ctrl T again to transform. Ctrl T to control transformation. That's very simple. Ctrl T. Now, if I click and drag it, it's gonna get just the selected portion of that layer and it's gonna transform just that portion, okay? If I hold shift, I can extend it to the top. And now I can use that image to do whatever I want. And that's how you can transform layers, modify layers. So if I get my brush, for example, I'll get a brush here, I'll get any color, and I'll just paint over it. Now I'm literally modifying this layer. Okay, you can see here in the layer panel that this layer now has a red strange dot on it because that's what I just did. And as soon as I release my mouse button, it's gonna update and it's gonna keep doing it until I stop messing with the layer. Okay, and again I can Control Z all the way back to the original state until I have my guy here again. Okay. The other thing you should know, and that's very interesting, if I go to these little eyes icon here and I click and drag it, I can deselect or select a lot of them at the same time. I can visualize or remove the visualization of all of them at the same time. Doesn't matter how many layers I have. And if I hold Alt and click on the eye icon, only the one I clicked is going to be showing on my screen, okay? So if I get a selected layer, well, let's say I'm still holding Alt and I click on the like Nike always says, and I go there and I click it again, it's going to activate all the other layers again. Okay, that's very important if you want to visualize just one layer and see how it's doing. And then you can see the other ones again without having to click and drag over all the little eye icons. Another thing you should know about layers is, as you saw, I went to my folder and I dragged my image there and it started as an image as a smart object. So the other thing I can do is I can go to a website that's unsplash.com. It has a lot of images you can use for free. They are royalty free. They have no copyrights. You can use it for study, but not for commercial projects. I think you can use for commercial projects, some of them, but it doesn't really matter. Let's say I get one of these images, like this guy. He has a really cool pose. So I'm gonna get this image here. I'm gonna click on it and I'll wait for a while. Now it has full quality. I'm gonna right click to it. That's straight from the website. And I'm gonna copy image. Sorry, mine is in Portuguese, but it's copy image. And then I can go to Photoshop in any moment and just press Ctrl V and it's gonna paste my image there. And notice the name of this layer. It's called layer 1 because Photoshop doesn't know the name of this file. It doesn't have a name, so it's just gonna name as layer 1. And if I get any other picture, and let's say I want this one, I'm gonna come here, copy image, and then I come here and paste it again. Now I have layer 2. Okay, so that's very important. So keep it in mind. You can literally copy from the internet and paste straight away in Photoshop. Another thing I want to mention, let's say I don't want to use any of these layers, but I have my background here, okay? And you want to remove this guy, you want to erase it. Now, notice that on the left corner here, I have the red selected for my foreground color and black selected for the background color. That's how it works. If I just get my eraser, which is the shortcuts letter E for eraser in your keyboard, and I go there and I try to erase this guy, what do you think is going to happen? So I'm pretty much sure you're going to think, well, when you start erasing it, the background is going to be with the little squares, the white and gray square, the white and gray squares saying that it's a transparent background now. But what happens is when I delete it, it starts getting black, and you might be thinking, why? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm gonna do Ctrl Z, and now I'm gonna press X on my keyboard. Look at the colors here on the left, they swap, okay? So now I have the black as my background color and red as the foreground color. When I press X, it just swaps it. And if I delete it, now it's red. So no, it's not painting red. It is deleting that layer, but since it's the background layer, it's gonna apply the background color. That's how it works. And that's only happening because the background layer is locked. You see that little locker here? That means it's locked. So when you do it, that's how it's gonna work. And how do I edit the background layer? You just come here and you click on this little locker. And now, if you get your eraser and you delete the guy, now you're gonna see the expected result. So now that thing is transparent. If I get this layer over here, that one that is above the layer 0 here, that used to be my background, notice the name changed. I can drag it all the way down here, and now I can see that guy through the other image. Okay? So that's a very important thing to notice. And let's go all the way back. That guy's here. Let's say you unlocked this layer, but you don't want it unlocked. What you're gonna do is you come over here in the layer menu and you're gonna come to new and then you have background from layer. So now look at the name of my layer, it's layer 0. When I click at background from layer, now it goes back to be the background, okay? Let's say I don't want this layer to be the background. I'm gonna unlock it. Let's say I want this layer to be the background. So I'm gonna Ctrl T to transform. I'm gonna hold Alt to fill that to scale the image from the center. And I want this layer now to be my background layer. So I'm gonna just drag it all the way down. I'm gonna let just this layer to be visible. And then I'll go to layer, new, background from layer. Now this is my new background layer, okay? And that's how it works. So there are a few more things you should know about layers. Let's say I have now my text here, all the text, and I want to group my text together. Okay, so I have, oops, sorry. So I have my text here, and I have this other one here. Let's just activate that because it looks better. So I want to group my text. What do I do? So you click on one layer, and if you hold Control, you can click on any other layer and all of them are going to be selected. It doesn't have to be just the same type. It doesn't have to be just text. You can click on any layer, okay? If you release Control and you just click on a layer, it's going to select just that layer. Let's say you want to select a lot of layers at the same time. So I want to select all the layers from this one until layer 0. If I just hold Shift and click on layer 0, it's gonna select all the layers between the first and the last one I clicked. It's super simple, okay? But I want just the text, so I'm gonna click here, Shift, click the next one, and I'm gonna go right click on it, and there is an option that is group. So you can use the new group, you can name it, let's call just text, and okay. And now I have a new group. What is interesting is when you do it that way, now I have a new group, which is a small folder, but if I click on the eye icon, you're gonna realize that it's not gonna do anything because my text is not inside that folder. So I can select these layers, click and drag. And now, if I click on the little eye icon, I can visualize or remove the visualization of all of them at the same time. There are a few other things that we could do. We could reduce the opacity, and it's going to reduce the opacity of all the layers inside this group. But there is another way of doing that. Let's say I don't like this group anymore. So here in the text folder, I'm going to click with the right button, and I'm going to use ungroup layers. And now they're not a group anymore. But I don't like this way. Remember I said I'm lazy. So if I select this layer, I'm just gonna press Ctrl G of group in my keyboard. And now they're all in the same group. They are already inside my folder. I don't have to do anything else except renaming my folder. So let's say text. If I get this folder and I want to color this folder, look what happens. I'm gonna open it. So I'm just gonna really quick drag my layer panel over here so you can see it. So if I get this group and I right click on it, color, and I apply red, it's gonna color all the layers inside this folder the same color. And that's amazing for organization. Believe me, you're gonna need it. It helps a lot because right now our document has just a couple layers, but sometimes you're gonna have documents with hundreds of it. So grouping layers and naming them is gonna help you a lot, okay? So I'm gonna remove the color here. Let's apply no color, and I'm gonna drag my panel all the way back here where it was, and I'm just gonna put it as first one, okay? So this is the most basic stuff you gotta know about layers. With this knowledge, you can do pretty much anything you want to do with layers. Now, there's just a few more things I'm gonna show you really quick, okay? Because the video is getting a lot longer than I thought, and I wanna finish it up and then I record the next one. So let's say I get this layer here. I have these lock options, okay? Each one of them has a function. So this one, lock all attributes. What are the attributes? So the first one is transparency. So it's gonna lock transparent pixels. You're probably thinking, what does that mean? That means this. This is what it means. Let's say I'm gonna erase this portion of the picture, okay? And I'm gonna lock transparency. And now I wanna paint it, let's say green. And if I get here and I try to paint it, look, the transparent pixels are locked. I can't paint over them. And you're gonna see how useful this can be in a few of the next videos when we're doing the exercises, okay? So right now, just keep in mind that it locks transparency. Oh, and notice that now I have a new locker here again. On the other side here, I have now the lock image pixels. So it's gonna do exactly the opposite of the lock transparent one. So if I delete this portion and I come here and I click this and I wanna paint it, oops, sorry, and I wanna paint it, where is my brush? I can't do it because now it's locked. It's simply locked. I can't use my brush tool, okay? So I'm gonna unlock it. But it's important. I can move my image. In both of them, I can move my image, okay? But if I come here and I click on this button, now I can paint over my image, but I cannot get the move tool and move it because now it's locked, okay? And just these are the attributes. And in these other parts, to prevent auto nesting into and out of artboards, I'm not going to talk about it right now because you're going to have to go into artboards to understand that. But keep in mind that these lockers have these functions. And the other two functions we have is opacity and fill. And I'm going to show you, and they look like they do the exactly same thing. So if I reduce opacity, now the layer that is selected is gonna be a little bit more transparent, okay? And if I get the fill and I reduce it, it's just gonna do the same thing, right? That's a little bit odd, that's a little bit strange. But we're gonna get into details about it on one of the next videos and you're gonna understand how it works. The other things you have here is filter for pixel layers. So if I click it, all the pixel layers gonna show up here. Let's say this layer that is now appearing here, it's a pixel layer, but I can convert it into a smart object. If you watch the previous video, now you have a shortcut for it, which is Ctrl-Shift-Q. And if I click this button again, now it's gonna disappear, because this is not a rasterized image again, anymore actually. Now it's a smart object. I can have different types of layers. Sorry. I can have different types of layers, like a shape layer, and it's gonna show up here. That's the button for the shape layer. Now it's gonna show only the shape layers. If I have my text, I can come here and click here, and I can see only my text. And the next button we have here, this one, is for adjustment layers. So if I come here in the adjustment panels, and let's select this one, classic black and white, let's just click on it. Now I have a few adjustment layers. You notice my image is now black and white. So if I click on this button, now only the adjustment layers are gonna appear, okay? So it's pretty simple. Well, it's a lot of stuff, but overall it's pretty simple once you understand how it works. There is a lot more about layers, but I can't put everything on this video. It's gonna be a 2 hour long video. So we're gonna have more videos about layers, especially about blend modes. We're gonna talk about them. And then we're gonna have the layer styles, which are those things over here. It's gonna be an entire video just about these two things, okay? Well, I hope this video helped you. I hope you liked it. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, maybe the notifications so you can receive the notifications when the videos are released. And I see you in the next video. See ya.